This could potentially either help or hinder my future acting career. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, hi, my name is Zhariya Smith, and I typically make commentary videos just like this one. So if you guys like that, or you just happen to love my gorgeous face, so you should subscribe down below and hit that notification bell to get notified every single time I post, which happens to be on Mondays and on Fridays. And with that said, let's go on to the video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Black protagonist and specifically how that is portrayed throughout film. I know that I could also include TV shows, but that just takes too much effort, so we're just referring to movies. So, the first Black protagonist that I found, at least, there's this movie called The Homesteader by Oscar Micheaux. I took French and I should know how to pronounce this, but Oscar Micheaux. He is regarded as the first African-American feature filmmaker, and he was a prominent producer of race films. And he was also described as the most successful African-American filmmaker for the first half of the 20th century. And I couldn't really find the first specific Black protagonist, but it seems as though the first movie that had a Black protagonist was The Homesteader. Now, the first Black girl protagonist was actually Josephine Baker, and she was the first Black woman to star in a major motion picture, and the movie was called Zuzu. That's my nickname. And it was produced in 1934. And also Dorothy Dandridge was the first Black actress to be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress, and this was in 1954 for her film Carmen Jones. Did she win? No. So let's talk about the Black best friend. These Black characters have no unique lives or motivations. They're kind of served as the set pieces in a way to break up the mundaneness of white people, like Clueless. Clueless has Cher, but then she has her Black best friend. Do you know what her name is? Probably not. The Black best friend is sassy, she's never busy, she's always, ready to aid her white protagonist friend. So the Black best friend is just an accessory, almost like a bag. So that's kind of the Black best friend trope. It is very prevalent for Black girls in film. We typically aren't protagonists in like teen movies. If that makes sense. And then we're gonna now talk about how whenever there is a movie that stars Black people, there is this phrase, and we like to call it as the white savior. The white savior is a cinematic trope, which basically is a white person rescues non-white characters from issues that the non-white characters couldn't solve by themselves. Now, this concept was very, very, very popular during the Civil Rights era. So it was very difficult for filmmakers to say, like, oh, we want to produce stories about, like, civil rights. We want to produce stories about these things. But white audiences don't want to watch that. So they then transform it into a white person saving the day to make them feel a little bit more comfortable. Examples of this are The Help, The Blind Side, Green Book, many, many other movies. Because of this concept of when Black stories are being told, it is through a white lens, the characters and people of color are often less important, perceived as less important in their own stories. And the fact that many white savior films are based on true stories, but they simplify race issues and make it more palatable to a white audience. In 2019, the Best Picture winner was Green Book. Green Book, if you haven't seen it before, is a film about Don Shirley, who is a Black queer musical genius with multiple doctorates, and his story is told through whose perspective? Not his. It's told through his white driver. Why? Why is that? It makes no sense. Someone make it make sense. So if in this essence, if there are white savior films and Black best friend films, then what does a Black movie look like? Well, I have them set into 3 categories that I at least find interesting a little bit. So I have hood movies, the Black Experience, and Tyler Perry movies. This does not include only Tyler Perry movies, but they have like a specific zing to them. So yeah. So to go to the hood movies category, we have movies such as Friday, Dope, How High, Lottery Ticket, Barbershop, Straight Outta Compton. It usually takes place in the hood or the ghetto, as some like to say. It can be a coming-of-age film, but that really depends on the movie. Like Dope is kind of like a coming-of-age film, whereas Lottery Ticket is just about foolishness. Pretty much in every single hood movie, in some way, there is mention of drugs, mass incarceration, and it takes it through the lens of humor. And these are seen as the classic Black movies. Like, I've been told, like, you're not a Black person if you haven't seen Friday. I've seen Friday, by the way. I have the little CD. But you're seen as not Black if you haven't seen these films. So next we go on to the Black Experience. So hood movies was basically, that's like the comedy genre of Black movies, is typically hood movies. The Black Experience are very depressing or dramatic movies. So this includes 12 Years a Slave, Precious, Get Out, Fences, Sorry to Bother You, and Moonlight. So these portray deeper stories about what it's like being Black in America. It points out racism in society, and it comments on society as a whole and how this story is told through a Black lens and how distorted reality looks in comparison to white people, I guess. I want to specify here that the Black Experience, our movies are specifically focused on race and how race affects a person. Next we have Tyler Perry movies, but it's not exclusive to Tyler Perry, the producer and director. But as you guys know, Tyler Perry makes those Medea movies, he makes scandal movies, husband cheating on wife, wife cheating on husband with a light-skinned man, that category of movies. These are seen as also drama, some comedy in there, but it brings comedy, the Tyler Perry movie category brings comedy to the Black community, but still perpetuates stereotypes just like hood movies, but not as intensely. It also addresses cheating in the Black community, addresses colorism, whether or not that is a good lens or a bad lens, that's up to you, but they do address colorism. Some of these overlap, definitely. We have a tendency to focus on Black male protagonists, but we typically don't see Black female protagonists, and I wonder why. But it's really, really rare to find a Black girl protagonist in a movie that isn't light-skinned. People like to have a tendency to cast Zendaya, Amanda Steinberg, Zoe Kravitz, a lot of these lighter Black women, and try to make darker-skinned Black women perceive life through their eyes. We also don't typically see Black girl protagonists in teen movies, such as A Kissing Booth or No Kiss List, LOL, Sorry Miley Cyrus. You wouldn't typically see movies like that with a Black girl as the protagonist. Or if there is a Black girl protagonist, it's usually related to race in some type of way. So yeah, an exception to this is a movie called Little Monsters, starring Lupita. It's a horror movie, but it has nothing to do with the race, like, at all. But you might be wondering, well, if Black women aren't being cast, does that just mean that there aren't that many Black women that are trying to be in movies? That is not true. Black actresses are typically disregarded in the audition process, casting process, etc. Typically, if they do put a Black girl in a movie, it's because they want to sexualize them in some way. I'm talking about dark-skinned Black women, not light-skinned Black women, because they're treated differently. And if they do have a token Black girl, it is typically a light-skinned Black girl. Black women, darker-skinned Black women are also, in stories and accounts, have been degraded during the audition process, degraded in casting. And a good example of this is I'm going to read you the casting call for Straight Outta Compton, which was a hood movie. So, A girls. These are the hottest of the hottest. Models. Must have real hair, no extensions, Very classy looking, great bodies. You can be black, white, Asian, Hispanic, Middle Eastern, or mixed race too. That is A girls, as in the best of the best, right? Now we go into B girls. These are fine girls, long, natural hair, really nice bodies, small waist, nice hips. You should be light-skinned. Beyonce is a prototype here. So this is now perceived as worse than the A girls, but still better than the others. So let's go into C girls. C girls. These are African American, medium to light-skinned girls with a weave. D girls. These are African American girls, poor, not in good shape, medium to dark skin tone. And you can also see that for C girls and D girls, they gave a lot less description. And in a way, this is disrespectful because you're saying that A girls who are lighter skinned are seen as better than the darker skinned people who are the C girls and D girls. And if you watch Straight Outta Compton, the darker skinned girls who are seen as ugly and poor, those are the ones that are typically naked in the movie, being degraded. And I just want to note, I would like for there to be a world to where I could audition for a Kissing Booth 3 and I could be Elle, you know? Or I could be in Clueless, but I would be Cher and not Cher's black best friend, you know? Will that happen? Who knows? Well, I was doing research to see how many black people, and I'm not including black women in this, but black people, since 1929, this website called Golderby, and this was written on June 8th, 2020, said that the first Academy Awards were handed out in 1929. Only 19 Oscars have been awarded to performances given by black actors and actresses. 19 since 1929. That is a very long time. That is almost 100 years. Hopefully, at some point, that there will be more diversity, more opportunities for black actresses to thrive in the film industry. Yeah, so let's end the video. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to give it a big thumbs up, as it really helps small channels like mine. And also make sure to subscribe, because I'm really close to 500 subscribers. I'm actually not that close. I have like 430, but I'm really close to 500, and that's halfway to 1,000, and that would be so amazing. Make sure to stay happy, stay healthy, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.
And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.